Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Mastering Tariffs with SalesPad webinar. My name is Elizabeth Morse, and I'm the event manager on our marketing team. Few items to cover before I turn it over to Alyssa. Today's presentation is going to be around 20 minutes or so, and we're leaving 10 to 15 minutes available for questions and answers at the end. You are welcome to use that Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen to ask questions throughout the presentation. So as something pops into your mind, just jot it into that Q&A area, and we will address it right at the end. Today's webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to share it with colleagues, view it on YouTube, view it on our events page of our website within about 24 hours of today's webinar. We are very excited to have Alyssa Strand, our Senior Product Manager, with us today specifically for our SalesPad suite of applications. She's going to highlight tools to strengthen your tariff strategy and protect your profitability. So without further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to you, Alyssa, to take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Elizabeth. So thanks everyone for joining us. We're covering a very topical theme today, how SalesPad empowers people to manage tariffs, automate tariff calculations for sales orders, ensure that customers have visibility of these added costs, and ultimately stay in control of your profitability. So some quick background on me before we jump into things. My name is Alyssa Strand. I'm the Senior Product Manager for the SalesPad suite of applications here at Cavallo. I've been at Cavallo about 8.5 years now, so a veteran at this point. And I'm located at our headquarters in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I love reading, video games, and yoga. And like I was saying as we were introing a bit, fall is my favorite time of year, so I love all the colors changing up here right now. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into our topic for today. I'm sure it's not a surprise to anyone here that tariffs are causing concerns for businesses across a variety of industries. And it's even more impactful when tariffs are changing weekly, even daily, leaving people scrambling to not only stay up to date on the latest rules, but to find ways to mitigate those costs before they impact your bottom line. It wouldn't be so bad if tariffs were changing a few percent at a time, but we've been seeing drastic changes upwards to 125% tariffs in some cases, which is just a massive change in the cost of goods sold. Plus, having different rules for different items from different countries, it's a whirlwind of activity as everyone rushes to follow the latest updates. Huge corporations may be able to navigate these turbulent waters without capsizing, but for small and medium businesses, these are bigger waves, and it might seem like it's going to be hard to stay afloat. The good news is Cavallo has your back. There are already a ton of built-in ways to surface and analyze your data in SalesPad. User-defined fields to capture extra data points that you need to keep track of, plus workflow and automation options for handling special validation and calculations that matter for your business. With our Tariff Control add-on for SalesPad, we combine these options with scripting that we tailor to your use cases, so you can manage these costs however makes the most sense for your business. This package includes dedicated time with our consultants to make sure that you can effectively manage tariffs, from your own internal visibility to automatically passing on tariff costs to your customers, making sure that they have the right level of visibility, and handling any edge cases and special situations that you might have. And we'll continue to support you as you uncover any new rules that you need to handle. People typically manage tariffs at the item level because you can have tariffs on some items and not on others. So you can set up tariff percents for each item, and then that can be used to automatically calculate the tariff fees that should be added to sales orders. If certain customers should be exempt from tariffs or have a different tariff percent than the standard, you can set up customer item overrides because they want to pass on less of the tariff costs to their priority customers. Some of our customers use these overrides in different ways, again, passing on less of the cost, or they might have special negotiated rates for certain customers, and they need to make sure that tariffs don't get added on top of those rates. We also have some SalesPad customers who want to make sure that they're excluding tariffs on certain dropship orders, because if you're not actually importing that item into the US, then tariffs don't apply. So for them, we've scripted in specific rules so that if SalesPad would apply tariffs for an item, but it's a dropship order and the ship to address isn't in the US, then no tariffs are actually added. So we have lots of flexibility in applying these special rules based on your business needs. We have some options for how exactly to add the tariff fees to the sales order. So they can be added into each sales line's price, or they could be added as a separate fee line altogether for easy customer visibility, or they can be added to the order's miscellaneous charge field. Typically, people like these rules to be consistent for your own internal organization and sanity. But if you have different customers who need different types of visibility, then you could use some combination of these options so you can provide your customers with exactly what they're asking for. Regardless of how the fee gets factored into the order total, SalesPad can track the exact tariff percent and amount that's calculated for each sales line, and then bubble up the total tariff amount to the order level. That way, you always have full internal visibility, and you can easily answer any questions that your customers might have. You can make that information available for customers on reports that you send to them by pulling in the fee line or the fields that show the calculated tariffs, which for most people has just required some small adjustments to existing reports that they're already sending out. And you can also ensure that tariffs aren't factored into SalesPad, into salesperson commissions, so you're not paying out commission on fees. If you can source a single item from multiple countries, then obviously item-specific tariffs aren't quite enough by themselves. What most people do is track the country of origin as they receive these items, and then SalesPad can use that to calculate the tariffs that should be passed on to customers based on which items are fulfilled to the sales order. The caveat here is these items really need to be serial or lot tracked for this to work effectively, because keeping track of non-tracked items in GP always ends up being kind of a guessing game. SalesPad supports user-defined fields for serial and lot-tracked items. So what most people do is create a country of origin user field, and then they enter the country of origin for each serial or lot item as they're received. So with this kind of setup, you have visibility of the country of origin for each item while it's in inventory, which is really nice because then you can actually check that when you're deciding which items to fulfill for sales orders. And you can also see the history of these items from which countries you've shipped to your customers. So you get a lot of super helpful visibility as long as you're actually keeping track of the country of origin. But if you have items that need to be non-tracked, but also country of origin specific, then you might need to consider creating separate item masters for each country of origin. That way you can more accurately pass on those tariff fees. Some of our SalesPad customers are in this boat. It would just be a huge undertaking to change their items, plus too much process overhead for them to do full serial and lot tracking. So they would rather have multiple items in the system for the same physical item to keep track of the country of origin. That does mean that when you place a PO, you need to know the country of origin for the item ahead of time so that you can put the correct item number on the purchase order. But then on the sales side, you can at least use a module like our cross upsell plugin, which lets you have visibility of those related items. That way, sales entry users can see which ones are available currently, switch between them as needed, especially when customers ask for items that are sourced from a country with lower tariffs. Then you have all that visibility and you can make those adjustments on the fly. Tariffs are included in the cost at the time of receipt, so of course they directly impact each item's cost of goods sold. As we know, COGS is typically the biggest expense for product-oriented businesses and distributors, so it's imperative to stay on top of these costs and be able to react quickly when they increase so you can minimize any potential losses. There are a variety of ways that Cavallo helps you keep track of your costs, from built-in SalesPad screens like inventory lookup and sales analysis, to our ultra-configurable quick reports, and our AI-powered Profit Max platform. In SalesPad's inventory lookup, you can see the current cost and standard cost for every item in your system. You can search for particular items and compare their costs and current pricing. In the Purchases tab, like you can see here, you can actually see the historical costs for that item across your vendors. So you can see how costs might differ between your vendors, when costs changed, and by how much. And then in the Sales tab, you can review historical sales for that item and see the unit cost and unit price for each of those on each of those invoices. In all of those areas, you have tons of handy grid features that you can use to sort, filter, and group the data, so you can drill into exactly what you need to see. In SalesPad Sales Analysis, you can see sales, cost, profit, and margin percent for each item across target time periods. So you can see how tariff increases are impacting your item level profitability. If you find that some of your items are dropping below your target margin, then you can consider adjusting your item pricing or otherwise passing on tariff costs to help mitigate those cost increases. SalesPad's quick reports let you surface really any data that you need out of the database. You can play with that data by grouping, filtering, and sorting, and you can build in whatever search options you like to really hone in on the information you need. One of our customers needed a special internal report where they could search for a customer and an item, and then see all of the times that they ever sold that item to that customer with the country of origin, the cost, and the final price. That way, if their priority customers wanted to avoid the higher prices from higher tariffs and request items sourced from a different country, they could work with them to figure out which items would be priced lower and then add in fulfillment rules to make sure that they respect those requests and strengthen that relationship. We also have our Profit Max platform, which is a separate web-based application that uses AI and machine learning to surface even deeper insights from your data. You can see visual charts of your COGS over time for target time periods, overall, or for individual items. So you can drill in and see COGS and margin on specific invoices, see which items were your top gainers and top decliners by margin percent, margin amount, sales, and quantity, and analyze sales, COGS, and margin by different segments like customer class, item class, and sales rep. So this really helps you find specific areas where you might be leaking profit. Maybe a particular customer has customer special pricing set up in SalesPad that hasn't been updated in a while. Your costs have increased, and now you're actually losing money on some of the items that you sell to them. So now you know, and then you can adjust their customer special pricing in SalesPad so you can make money on those orders again. Or maybe a particular item class just hasn't had price updates in a while. The vendor increased their pricing a few months back, and again, you've been losing money without knowing it. These features really help you identify and diagnose your profit problem areas, and then you can make changes in SalesPad to treat those issues. The Profit Max platform also has a what if analysis screen, which is super fun because it lets you play with all of these variables that contribute to your profitability. It gives you information like your current unique customer count, average number of orders per customer, average lines per order, and average price and cost per line. And then you can adjust all of these numbers to see how small tweaks to some of these areas can really have a big impact on your overall margin. This lets you dig into questions like you can see here. If tariffs increase overall COGS by 12%, will a pricing adjustment of, say, 6% be enough to offset the potential margin drop? As we can see here, yes, if all the other factors stayed the same, then that would actually net a slight increase in overall margin. So then you could ask, how many customers could we stand to lose from the price increases before our margin drops? And what other initiatives could we start to maintain our profitability? Some of our customers would rather avoid raising prices too much, so they find it super helpful to play with all of these factors, like increasing the average lines per order, to see how that can also help offset the cost increase. And then they build sales initiatives around the areas that would give them the most bang for their buck. So instead of paying an outside consultant to build a ton of dashboards and a ton of different reports, the Profit Max platform lets you slice and dice your data in a ton of different ways, Plus, it works hand in hand with SalesPad, so you can launch links in the Profit Max platform that take you into SalesPad to see your sales documents in more detail. There is plenty more value that the Profit Max platform provides, so definitely connect with us if you'd like to learn more. Tariff volatility is going to be a problem for the foreseeable future. So one way or another, you need to take control of the situation so you can stay on top of your profitability. Cavallo gives you a ton of options for your tariff management tool belt, letting you see the impact, mitigate the costs, and provide the best possible support for your customers, so you can continue building those relationships even through this turmoil. The big waves and choppy waters may spring a few leaks in your boat along the way, but with these tools, you can patch them up quickly and continue sailing even faster and stronger than before. Thank you, everyone. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you, Alyssa. Appreciate it. Yeah, just a reminder for everyone to use that Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Few questions for you to kick it off, though, Alyssa. What does it take to get up and running?
Yeah, so with this, you would just need to work with your Cavallo account manager to purchase the tariff add-on. And then that's a package where you work with our consultants to update configuration and workflow, create any scripting that you might need for new validation or rules that you have for your business. So it's a consulting engagement then where you're working with us to tailor the solution to exactly what you need.
Thank you. And I think, would it be safe to say that the timing really depends on each business and what's needed?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, some people have only been a couple days to a week. Like it really depends on how many tweaks and changes are needed. And also on the business requirements, because some things like just item-specific rules are fairly straightforward. But if you start layering on like customer special rules, or any kind of pricing checks, it's all just entirely dependent on what you need.
Awesome. Let's see. You mentioned adding fulfillment rules for customer requests about which items they're shipped based on country of origin. How would we go about doing that?
Yeah, so that's largely going to be scripting. It depends on where you're fulfilling, because you can fulfill in SalesPad or in Inventory Manager, or in third-party WMS systems potentially. So it's usually scripting that would show certain information at the time of fulfillment or checks like validation when the fulfillments are applied. It's kind of situational just based on the
Okay.
current process.
So we can always follow up and get a more specific answer
Yes,
to you.
exactly.
Okay, looks like the last one, we use SalesPad group pricing. Will that factor in tariffs?
So it depends a bit. With group pricing and kind of customer special pricing, they have some similarities. You can set up the pricing to be like a percent or amount increase from the item's cost. And if that's the case, then it'll automatically factor in and recalculate the price and include any costs that are any tariffs that are in the item's cost. But there are some ways where if it's just establishing a flat price, then it's not automatically factoring in tariffs. So potentially, as part of this engagement, you could update those rules, update the pricing so that it would automatically take that into account.
Awesome. I don't see any further questions. So thank you so much, Alyssa. Greatly appreciate the presentation. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. We hope to see you at future webinars. I definitely encourage you to visit our events page at www.cavallo.com/events-schedule. You'll be able to register for upcoming events as well as view recordings of past webinars. So there's tons of webinars that we've put out over the last few months. So you can go back, look through that past events library and view any of those on demand. As always, if you'd like to explore your organization's specific needs further or have any questions, just reach out to your account manager if you're not quite sure who that person is. Simply just send an email to marketing@cavallo.com and I will personally make sure your message gets in the right hands. Lastly, there's going to be a really short survey, just 3 questions at the end of this. We would love your feedback. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.